Well, hi guys, and we're back in Dad's shed briefly. In the last little video I did on the scraping on the Myford, I said I'd come back once I'd got it effectively completed, so that's why we're here. I've spent another couple of days of bits and pieces just doing a little bit of scraping, measuring. Have a quick look at what I was up to. I've had to change hands here because normally I would do it like this, but it's in the wrong place, so I'm having to do it left-handed. Right, let's see where we are on this. Let's clear all those off and remark them all, I think. So let's, I reckon 1/2 inch, yeah. Right, let's start having a look at this. Quick cup of tea first. Give this a little bit of a wriggle around, and it then sits at a point it likes. So that's 037. Four, 040. Three, 5. Three, 0. Okay, I can't go any further down that bit with the carriage in the way. So I'm down to 2.4 here, which is where it was, 2.5 there, 2.2 here, 2.4, 2.3, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.4, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 3.1, 3.1, 3.0, 3.1, 3.1, 3.1, 3.0, 3.7, 2.9, 2.9, 3.0. So that bit there has got to come down now. Get that down to around 3.0. And then I've got to take half a thou off that bit up to there, and then I've got 3.2, 3.1, 3.1, 3.1, 3.5, 3.5, 4, 3.7. So that back bit there, the last 2 inches, I've got to take another 5/10, so half a thou off, and then take just over half a thou off of there, and then this piece from here to there I need to take another half thou off. Okay, let's put a bit of blue on the bit where it is 3.7. And then on the bit up here where it is see, we'll go with there. Right. Right, let's see what that does now. Give that a very quick wipe. That says 3.7. .29. Okay. Okay, 0.29. So that is 2.5 from there to there. 3.0 from there to there. And then 3.5 from there to there, within a tenth or so. So let's do the back end, and then we'll come down and we'll do a light scrape all the way along. See if I can get that down to about 2.5. And if I can get that to 2.5, I think I will possibly leave it at that. That gives me a maximum of 3/10 of a thou variation from there along. So let's do a bit more. Let's do this end first. I'll use my smaller scraper because it gets into the edges a little bit better. Two, 3.1, 3.2, 3.5, 3.2. So just that little bit at the end there. There's that last little bit there at the end, and then we're down to 3.1 all the way along. Let's see how we go. Just run this back and up and back. Oh, good God. Well, that has never done that since I've had it. That's the full travel of the bed. And I know I'm still half a thou high at this end. So let's find where the lowest bit has got to. I've just managed to wipe the whole lot off, haven't I? To 5. To 5. 3.0. So from there. I'll do one more pass. Okay. Oh. Stress relief. Okay, where we are now, in case I cut you back in again, apart from the wife coughing in the background. Okay, so from here to here, I'll do one more pass light scrape, and that will take us down hopefully to within 2 or 3 tenths along the whole length of the bed. And I've now got a fairly long straight edge, so I can put that along here and give myself a bit more of a guide as to exactly where we are. Let's use the bigger one. It's better. Bigger radius on the end. Well, what I'll do, I think, is I'm going to pick up my phone and get my phone to pick up some of my scraping down the edge here. Yeah, that's not looking too bad. Right. And the end result of all that was that I came back in here this morning, and it's now Sunday, and I did a last little bit of scraping at the back end here, and I've taken some measurements down the bed, and from having a variation of 2.5 thou, I've now got a variation of less than half a thou from one end of the bed to the other. And as you can see, this now moves up and down the bed with absolutely no, in fact I can push it up and down the bed now with no binding at all. So that's about 4 days on and off scraping here. You may notice I've done a little bit of a scrape on the top. I've not scraped it down, I've just put a few scrapes across to try and make sure I've broken it up and it's taking oil and it will float on it. The bed does need a good looking at. I am well aware of that. As I say, I've done nothing to this since I got it apart from oil it and adjust the jibs up. I am aware that it's probably slightly hollowed here and it probably needs a bit of a scrape down the bed. That's fine. But the main thing that I will need to do at some point is to do the wide guide, because as I mentioned in the previous video, on the early versions of the Super 7, the guideways are the front and the back of the front bedway. So it's quite narrow. So the later versions had a wide guide and that used the front and the back. What you need to do apparently is mill out a little here to give some clearance, and then use the back way, pull the whole thing slightly forward and use the back way and the front way to give you a much more solid carriage. I've got some turkite if I need that, so I can use that to adjust up, but that's nice. And I can't believe I can actually just wind this thing up and down the bed. And I can't believe it's taken 30 years to get there. A couple of people have commented on the previous one saying, oh no, I haven't got the nerve to do that. Have the nerve to do it. Practice a little bit of scraping if you haven't done it before. Scrapers are quite easy to make from old files. Practice it a little bit, but if you're only scraping off a couple of tenths of the thou at one pass, as long as you keep a close eye on where you're going with it, it's not going to make any real difference, and you're not going to end up with the bed going in there somewhere. If you use the back face and the front face, then you should get pretty close. There's probably a little bit of wear here on this bed. You can't quite see that, can you? Let's move that across a little bit and zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. There we go. Yeah, there's a little bit of wear here on the back of the front of this front way, which is why this is a little bit looser there than it is anywhere else. But it doesn't make, but it's such a small amount, it's making no real difference at all to the way it's going. So I'm quite happy with the work I've done on that. I now have a lathe which I can use the entire bedway on. I've got no clearance issues on it, it's not wobbling. So a few hours when I couldn't really focus on doing any machining, to do some scraping on this, having got the nerve to do it. But I will say to anyone, if you want to do this work, do a little bit of practice and do it. As long as you do it sensibly and carefully, and I'll suggest sort of going from there, and then you can run the carriage up and down and see where you're getting and do your measurements, then yeah, there's no reason not to. I took the decision having watched a number of people on YouTube, and thanks Max for your comment about it's not going to screw it up any worse than it is already. So I took that to heart, and I've managed not to screw it up any worse than it was already, and I've now got a lathe which is much more fully usable than it was before. So from my point of view, that's a win. So I'll take that, and I can now crack on and do some other work, because I've got my steam locomotive and I've got the new vertical head for the mill, both of which are major projects that I really need to get on with. Yeah, the next one is to make sure I can get my wheels onto the jig properly, so that I can go through with the keyway cutter with the key and cut the keyway in it. So I've got the jig sorted out. I just need to put that on and make sure that's all in alignment, and then I can start looking to cut the keyways properly so that they can fit properly onto the new axles I've made with the new bearings. So that's where we're heading next, and then once I've got that done, I'll park the loco for a little while and get the vertical head underway for the mill. I've got a lot to do. See you later.